Hello and welcome to Industry Spotlight with Creative First. Our guest today is Munjal Shroff, co-founder Graffiti Multimedia Private Limited. He has developed and produced India's first kids live action with 3D animation TV show Jai Bole To Jadoo with Nickelodeon and promoted Indian folk art and folk series to children in India and across the world through his hit children's movie series Krish, Trish and Balti Boy. Munjal is also the creator of the animated series Yom for Disney Channel. Both Yom and Krish, Trish, and Balti Boy have been released by Netflix in 150 countries in multiple languages. His latest creation is the Netflix original Deepa and Anoop, which has been produced by Mattel TV. The show won 4 Kidscreen Awards in 2023 for Best New Show, Best Inclusivity, Best Music, and Best Voice Talent. He is also the creative producer of the official YouTube channel Yoga with Prime Minister Modi. He has been honored as Toon Titan of Asia by Animation Magazine USA. Munjal serves as the co-chairman of the FICCI AVGC Forum in addition to being a member of FICCI's Media and Entertainment Committee. He is also on the advisory board of the Media and Entertainment Skill Council and recently served on the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting's Task Force on National Animation, VFX, Gaming, Comic, and XR Policy. Munjal, welcome to this discussion.
Thank you so much, Loita. Thank you for having me.
Trish and Balti Boy has become a defining feature of Indian animated content. How do you reflect on its impact, and do you see opportunities for similar projects in today's more globally connected animation landscape?
Oh, absolutely. I think, see, when we started with Krish and Balti Boy way back in 2010, the goal was very simple, that to expose children to the rich cultural uh, diversity of India, be it stories, be it folk arts, folk music, all of it. And so we started with that simple goal. And, it was as much a learning experience for us as it was for our audiences, because honestly, as we, dive deeper into the research and the kind of stories, it just blew our mind that, man, there is so much out there, right, which we don't know enough. I mean, just to give you sort of a perspective, there are about over 40 different cultural zones in India, based on our analysis. And every zone has, anywhere from between 5 to 20, 25 different art forms, whether it's leather puppets, whether it's scroll paintings, whether it's miniature paintings, whether it's puppetry, sculptures, you name it. There's like just so much art, right? Unfortunately, 85, I would say almost 90% or 95% of it has been lost. So there are no practitioners today. So we started with the, sort of this objective of, at the very least, start reviving these, start digitizing these, and then present it to children. And then that's when we sort of revived that whole space and said that it started honestly as an art restoration project. And I think uh, we sort of had a eureka moment when I took my 8-year-old daughter for a painting exhibition. There were 40 paintings, miniature paintings, uh, in the Chhatrapati Shivaji Museum. And my daughter was out of that room in 5 minutes flat. And she said, Dad, ho gaya. I think now we need to go and get the ice cream. And I asked her that, look, beta, there are about 40 paintings. Even if you spend 30 seconds, will be 20 minutes, 20 minutes is what it should take. And she said, no, it's only paintings, Dad. So how much time does it take for me to look at the painting? And that's when it hit me. I said that, man, this is a generation which is the YouTube generation, search engines for us, probably you and me, is Google. For them, the search engine is YouTube. Now, so obviously, then we changed the whole tact and we came up with these three Sutradhars, Krish, Trish, and Balti Boy, who would narrate these amazing stories from across the length and breadth of India. So obviously that series, like, as you know, we produced 8 movies, 60 minutes each. We produced about, each movie has 3 stories, so 24 stories, revived 15 different art forms. It's done exceedingly well. Over 40 million kids in India watch it. I think more than 200 million audiences on Netflix worldwide. So overall, I think it's done pretty phenomenally well. Now, what happened is that we sort of continued with that journey and mission and said that there's so much within India. And that's when we came up with the whole idea of Bharat Hai Hum. So on Bharat Hai Hum, the mission was that continuing the same idea, but I said that look at the history of India, look at the culture of India, and sort of how do you instill that sense of pride among children, that they should feel proud to say, okay, Bharat hai hum, we are Indians, right? So the motivation came from that. And I think many times when at least when I travel, to across the world, and I have lots of friends across the world, and they would tell us, hey, you should go and check out this museum. Isme ye wala painting acha hai. Yahan hamara, this particular art form is very good. You should go and go to this monument, right? So there is that, I see that sense of pride among these people, right? Unfortunately, I don't see that in our country, you know, and we have so much to tell. We have so much to offer, right? Whether if you look at our own architecture, heritage, culture, there's so much, right? It's just that we as citizens of this country don't know enough, right? And I think with every passing generation, that knowledge is only diminishing. So which is why I said that let me start on this journey. As graffiti, we tasked ourselves that, okay, let's take this one level higher. And I'm saying, let's not restrict ourselves just to culture, but let's also look at the history of India. And I think there's a wonderful opportunity that came to us in 2021 when the ministry was very keen. Ministry of Information Broadcasting said that, look, Krishish Baltiboy is such a wonderful property. Why don't you do something more for us under that brand? And coincidentally, at that point of time, we were doing a lot of research on the freedom fighters of India. It actually started from Northeast. And we came up with that idea, and we then pitched them an idea of doing a series which is on the unsung heroes of Indian freedom struggle. And again, I think it's been, I mean, we'll talk more as we move forward, but it's again astounding. I mean, as of now, we have at least 250 stories and some amazing stories. Like one of the things that I put out in my pitch was the fact that we don't want to do a story on a Gandhi or a Nehru or a Tilak or a Bose. It's been done. There's so much that's already happened on those people. I think it's the other stories that we need to tell. So now I think the canvas of Krishish Baltiboy under Bharat Hai Hum has become much, much bigger. So there we are.
Looking ahead, what would you consider the most promising genres or formats for Indian animation, and how can studios position themselves to capitalize these opportunities?
So I think, see, two things that I think have remarkably been very, very interesting for me. One is what happened with Deepa and Anup, our Netflix original, right? So we produced this with Mattel and Netflix, and we pitched it to Netflix, and Netflix lapped it up and said we wanted to be a Netflix original. Now, once that happened, I think, I mean, obviously we were thrilled that this is a show which basically, unlike typically most OTT platforms today, they want some legacy product. So either it has to be a successful book or already an existing IP which is well entrenched. Deepa and Anup was a fresh show, right? With no legacy, with nothing. So they bought the show on the merit of the idea. So that's part one of that journey. And we said that, wow, that's fantastic, right? Once the show was getting ready, then they decided that they're going to launch it in 27 languages, 27 international languages. I mean, interestingly, even in English, there are two versions. There's an English American accent, and then there's a British accent, right? So you have British English and American English, and obviously another 25 international languages. So that sort of was very heartwarming to see the push that Netflix gave it. I think it was possibly one of their largest releases in terms of languages, right? So again,
and what was the idea, for them to really think of it as a universal story?
See, I think, yeah. So see, the concept is very, very interesting. So it's Deepa, who's the 6-year-old girl who has a pet elephant, Anup, which is a pink elephant, who changes color based on his emotion. And both of these characters, are essentially part of a family that runs a bed and breakfast hotel. I mean, sort of taking inspiration from the motels of in the US. I mean, 80% of them are run by Indians. So we thought, why not take that thing which is so synonymous at one level with the Indian community, as much as our IT professionals are, and So we thought, let's take a little bit of that. Let's obviously, I wanted Bollywood to be a huge part of it. So I wanted every episode to have a song and dance number. And we took this, and the whole idea is that these two characters, they strongly believe in that whole philosophy of Atithi Devo Bhava, which is treat your guest like God. That's the motto that family follows for their bed and breakfast called Mango Manor. So every guest in Mango Manor, gets extra attention from Deepa and Anup, and in their over enthusiasm, obviously things go wrong and things are funny. But it's also that whole experience of introducing the audience to Indian culture, whether it's food, like there's a character called Naniji who cooks different dishes, Indian dishes. They celebrate a lot of Indian festivals, and in typical Bollywood style, there is one great Indian wedding that happens at the Mango Manor, where you sort of showcase or show what is the sort of significance behind an Indian wedding, right? Whether it's a Saat Feras, whether it's a Mangal Sutra, all of that, right? So I think through the series, people got a very interesting insight into the Indian culture while keeping it at the level where it sort of doesn't go overboard. I think we managed to strike that right balance. And I think our sort of biggest testament to its success came when we won 4 Kidscreen Awards. So we won Best New Show, Best Inclusivity, Best Music, Best Voice. I think we sweep the category, and I think particularly I'm especially proud of the inclusivity category because that's a category that's honestly been defined by Sesame Street. So we were nominated alongside Sesame Street and Michelle Obama's show, Ada Twist Scientist. I mean, just to be nominated alongside Sesame and Michelle Obama is an honor enough, and to win against these two formidable, and iconic shows and competition is really blew our minds. I think humbling. So that told us that there is a strong interest in Indian content. There's a strong interest in India, provided done right, provided, you temper the Indianness, to a level that is palatable. It's like Indian food,
Yes.
too much of spice and, although it may be nice, but the international audience cannot handle it, or the, international traveler who comes to India, if he's eating too much of spicy food, poor chap will have an upset stomach. So I think entertainment is very similar, that you have to strike that right balance of Indianness. So clearly, one is there is an opportunity for Indian stories for the world stage, whether it's our history. Like, I mean, right now, the number of shows that's happening around Indian history, there's a fair amount of it. I think our own show, Bharat Hum, that we did, when we launched season 1, we were on top 10 shows on Netflix, right? Which again is remarkable because you don't hit that mark until unless adults are also watching the show, and that show also made it to the Netflix global engagement list, which again was a huge surprise for us, right? So I mean, you don't make it to the global engagement list until unless not only people in India but enough audiences around the world are watching the show, right? So I think both these factors tell me that there is a demand for an Indian content, obviously done right, keeping in mind what the taste of international audiences are, and obviously produced at the highest production quality. So if you look at Deepa and Anup, it's a world-class production. If you look at Bharatam again, it's a massive production, right? Every episode has over 100 characters. We have more than 30 backgrounds in every episode. It's sort of a magnum opus in the animation space. So
Right.
clearly, within, I would say that there is a huge demand for anything Indian today, done right, served right.
Generative AI is increasingly shaping content creation and distribution in the M&E sector. How do
Yeah.
you see technology influencing the AVGC industry in terms of storytelling, workflow efficiencies, and audience engagement?
See, I think, fundamentally, I think it's our approach to AI that needs to be tempered. I think that genie is out of the bottle, right? So we are there's no way we can turn the clock back as much as we would like to. But I think the ecosystem needs to handle this far more responsibility, and I feel that the approach has to be that rather than looking at as, artificial intelligence or an intelligent tool that is supposed to replace human beings, my approach is that treat AI as augmented intelligence. How can you augment human capabilities? How can you augment human creativity with this tool? I think if you start looking at it from that perspective, I think there is tremendous opportunity and tremendous potential. In the long term, definitely AI will bring down time to market, will bring down, cost at a certain.
Right. How do you feel this will positively influence the AVGC industry?
See, it will.
Especially from the
Yeah. So
urban
my
efficiency.
so my point is that it definitely will. I think it can definitely bring in efficiency. So, for example, I'll give you a simple thing that once you have a script and a script goes into production and you have a breakdown, what kind of characters are there in every scene? I mean, let me take a live action example, right? A call sheet for a daily if you're shooting, right? How many locations do you have? Who do you need on that location? Now that typically once you do a breakdown that script, sometimes it can take you a week. Now with AI, it can happen in minutes, right? Again, going back and if the script changes or anything, that whole thing can get updated in real time. I think that's where the power of AI comes in. Within animation, also, I think what is happening is that at a certain level today, writers are able to put in prompts and sort of get visual representation of characters, right? So when they are writing a script and they want to see almost like a storyboard of it, to see does it work or does it not work, or how does it, what kind of changes you need to do. So I think with AI, you will start seeing a lot of that. So again, for writers to sort of, write a script and they'll say, okay, let me see a storyboard of this, right? You will start seeing things of that nature. Or even for someone who's a character artist, for him to try out even or for example, get references like what we call as a mood board, right? With AI, you can have a very, very specific mood board created based on your inputs, right? That I'm looking for a, for example, 8-year-old character who's, of Taiwanese origin and, who is interested in, let's say, robots, and, he also listens to Led Zeppelin, but he also listens to hip hop music, right? And what would be his room like? And you will, moment you put in these prompts, you will start seeing visuals, which typically would take you a week or 10 days when you brief an art team, right? Now, that sort of experimentation can happen very quickly, but for you to create or craft something truly original, you would still need an artist, right? There will be efficiencies that will come in. We're already seeing tools which are being integrated into softwares like Maya, where you can start using AI. You have prompts within softwares like Maya or 2D animation software or After Effects, where you can use AI prompts. So we're already starting to see some of these things. And these will definitely bring in efficiency. So my take on this in the long term is that you will definitely see a push on the quality envelope. It will go up. The other I think opportunity down the line is content which is more better suited to every individual's taste. So a far better curated entertainment experience. I don't think we are far from that.
Right. How will the National Center of Excellence for Animation, Visual Effects, Gaming, Comics, and Extended Reality contribute to increased production and skill development?
So, I think one is that IICT, as it's called now, Indian Institute of Creative Technologies, is I'm really, really happy to share that after almost 20 years of intense lobbying by FICCI, it's finally happening. So these days, almost every week, I end up going to the temporary campus that is coming up at Films Division at Pedder Road. And happy to share that that's shaping up really well. So what we are doing there is we are putting up state-of-the-art facility there. We are planning to have a virtual production setup, a motion capture setup, photogrammetry tools, right? Apart from that, we also are going to have bring in really top talent from across the world to train the trainers. So help the ecosystem sort of raise the bar And then the idea is that we train talent or instructors from different institutions across India by the best in the business. And then these trainers can go back to their respective institutions and then pass on that skills to students. So that's at one level where we are hoping that the entire skilling ecosystem goes up by virtue of the fact that you're getting these trainers to get sort of upgrade themselves. Obviously, it'll have state-of-the-art facilities, so which means that students today who are at IICT get to work with some of the best equipment and best tech that normally would be expensive for a single institution to put out. But thanks to the government funding, we are able to, put in under the campus of IICT a really state-of-the-art facility. And now also the other, amazing piece of news is that 10 acres of land has been allocated to IICT, which is going to be in Film City. And so the eventual campus will be in Film City. So again, it will have much larger facility. This temporary facility will operate at Ped Road potentially for the next 2 or 3 years till the point our main campus is ready. Once the main campus is ready, it'll all move there. The way IICT is envisioned, it's not just a training institution. We will also have incubation facilities. So we are going to have students who can come up with new shows and ideas. We are going to encourage students to come up with mobile games, casual games, so it's sort of a startup hub, sort of, having a startup mindset over there and allowing the students there to test out their ideas, have the infrastructure there to build some of these things, and then also help them to go to market. So the idea is that we are going to mentor these students who are here, and even within the ecosystem by running competitions across India, and then pick the top talent, mentor them further at IICT so that then they can go out and pitch their ideas to the global market. That's the aspect. The third front is also on the policy side. So IICT is also going to be a think tank for policy, where we will essentially look at what the ecosystem needs, how we shape the ecosystem. So again, I think very happy to share that Create in India, is a thought that I had shared with the ministry, that within the entertainment industry, we need to have a platform, an umbrella platform under which every event, every presence in the international market is headlined. So be it Cannes, be it Berlinale, be it GDC, Game Development Conference, MIPCOM, MIPTV, Kidscreen, you name it. I'm saying that our presence across the world at all these markets should be under an umbrella brand, and that umbrella brand is going to be Create in India. So under that umbrella now, the idea is that at one level every year, we pick up talent which is basically best in the country and give them the global platform. So like right now, there are 25 Create in India challenges that have been announced by the ministry. You will see that those challenges culminate at waves that's happening, in 2025. And then these winners would then be mentored and groomed to take their idea to the global market. Now, the whole idea, or obviously the hope and dream is that some of these ideas do get picked up, and obviously these students get to build their games or their animation shows or short films or movies, right? So that itself, even if they don't, that sheer experience of taking an idea from concept to execution and then going in front of a prospective buyer, I think is tremendous value and experience, which nothing beats that. Nothing beats that real world experience of going and pitching your show, because that learning on that journey. And we are hoping to have multiple rounds of this for multiple students across India, so that overall, eventually that ecosystem will benefit, So that's essentially where we are coming from under IICT. So I think there's a lot that needs to happen, and we at IICT we will have a governing council, where now that the institution is formed, I'm hoping a lot more people will come in and contribute with their time. There will be an academics council as well, where we would have some of the best minds, trained, educators and people from the skilling ecosystem contribute on how do we make this a world-class institution. So yeah, I think really, really excited to see something that was started so long back finally coming to fruition. So deeply satisfying.
What are the opportunities to create original IP in the AVGC sector?
I think the opportunity is tremendous. We are perhaps not in the best space right now, given the global entertainment market is. So I think we've hit a bit of a speed bump right now, but I am still hopeful in terms of where the industry is headed. I mean, just to share with you what we've done right now with Bharataham. The Krishnish Baltiboy Bharataham is a 52-part series on unsung heroes of the Indian freedom struggle. And we've just managed to have a massive release. It's India's largest multi-platform, multilingual release. So the show has been produced in 12 Indian languages and 7 international languages. We had a global premiere of the show in 150 countries in 19 languages, simultaneously premiering on Netflix and Amazon worldwide.
Right.
It also went on to all 28 channels of Doordarshan. And this time for season 2, obviously Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Doordarshan are all our partners. But we've also added radio. So we have now converted the series into a radio series. And the show has gone on to, more than 500 radio stations on the All India Radio Akashvani network. And we are also on Spotify in 180 plus countries. The reason I'm saying this is because we believe that, that those days perhaps of a single platform commissioning a show are over. At least I would say for the next 4-5 years. Right. So you will have to go back and start looking at revenue generation from multiple platforms. And I think that we are already seeing a turn in terms of platforms or broadcasters or channels, who earlier were very rigid on exclusivity across all platforms are now perhaps more warmed up to the idea saying that, okay, maybe I don't mind, you selling this to a broadcaster and us sitting on our OTT platform as well, or vice versa, right? Because budgets have come down, so everyone has realized that if you still want a world-class production, if you still want a top-notch production, the producer is not going to be able to produce it based on the fee that these platforms are giving. So I think, in a way, I think it's a tremendous opportunity because the power is now back with the producer, because there is no one platform or broadcaster dictating terms. Right. That also means that producers can hold on to their IP. They are in control of the destiny of that IP. Because many times in the past, what happens is that a particular broadcaster or platform will take over a show, and depending on where their agenda is, that show may or may not move forward beyond the first season. For sometimes nothing wrong with the show, just where their programming priorities lie. Right. So therefore, a good idea or a good IP gets locked up. But
right.
In the present scenario, I think that as the power balance is tilting, the producers will be more in control, and obviously they would therefore want it to go out to more platforms, more territories, and in the long term, I believe that this will improve monetization opportunities for the producers. So the need of the hour is not only just being creative with your show and your idea, but also being creative on the business model. So as usual, producers need to continue to do this balancing act of managing creativities at various levels.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, Munjal. I'm sure there are a lot of opportunities in the future for both you and, given all your efforts to most creators in India.
Thank you.
भारत है हम सीजन 1 की अपार सफलता के बाद क्रिश, ट्रिश और बाल्टी बॉय फिर से एक बार आ रहे हैं लेकर फ्रीडम फाइटर्स की नई कहानियां।
मराठा शेर की तरह अचानक वार करते हैं, भेड़िए की तरह दुश्मन का इंतजार नहीं करते।
जुल्म जितना बढ़ाओगे हिम्मत उतनी ही बढ़ेगी, दर्द जितना सीने में उठेगा आत्मा उतनी ही लड़ेगी।
Stay away from our jungles, or else you will not be able to see your mother or motherland ever again. देखो कि मुंह माई डांगो नो होए।
हमें जलियांवाला बाग का बदला लेना है। फायर!
मैं सीने पर गोली खालूंगा, लेकिन अंग्रेजों को पीठ नहीं दिखाऊंगा।
वंदे मातरम!
करो और मरो।
भारत माता की जय!
आक्रमण! टूट पड़ो इन दरिंदों पर।
ट्रिश, मुझे सब डबल क्यों दिख रहा है ट्रिश?
क्योंकि हमारा सीजन 2 है ही डबल धमाकेदार। क्यों क्रिश?
बिल्कुल, हमारे देश के लिए अपने प्राण न्यौछावर करने वाले साहसी वीरों की कहानियां जो हैं।
संस्कृति सीजन 2 ऑन।
भारत है हम का सीजन 2 लेकर आ रहे हैं 1 दिसंबर से हर रविवार सुबह 11 बजे दूरदर्शन पर। क्रिश, ट्रिश और बाल्टी बॉय। हमारे स्ट्रीमिंग पार्टनर्स हैं प्राइम वीडियो और नेटफ्लिक्स।